everyone, and welcome to another episode of MedSynapse podcast. I'm your host Hetvi, and today we have a very special guest joining with us, Dr. Kochurani Abraham, a highly respected endocrine pediatrician based in Pune. With over 16 years of dedicated experience, Dr. Kochurani practices at Ankura Hospital for Women and Children and boasts an impressive educational background, including an MBBS, a diploma in child health, and a PhD in pediatrics. Today's episode is particularly important as we delve into the topic of early-onset puberty, also called as precocious puberty. This condition can be challenging in today's world for both children and their parents, and we are here to shed light on its causes, impacts, and the best ways to manage it. So, Dr. Abraham, welcome to our podcast, and we are thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Hetvi.
Now, before we dive into our main topic, could you please share your medical journey with us? How did you find your way into pediatrics and what has your experience been like?
I'm Dr. Kochurani Abraham. I did my MBBS from BJ Medical College, Pune, and after that I pursued my post-graduation from CMC Ludhiana. I did my DCH at CMC Ludhiana, and then I did my DNB Pediatrics from Jahangir Hospital, Pune. Then after that, I did my fellowship in pediatric endocrinology from Wadia Institute of Children, Mumbai. And after that, I've been working as a pediatric endocrinologist in Pune since then.
Yes, that is a truly impressive journey. Now let's talk about precocious puberty. What exactly defines precocious puberty, and at what age should parents and healthcare professionals start to be concerned?
Yeah, so I'll go through the topic briefly. So we all know puberty is a period of transition of a child into adult in terms of gonadal maturity and in terms of appearance of secondary sexual characteristics. So it appears roughly between 8 to 13 years in girls, and in boys it occurs between 9 to 14 years. Now, what's precocious puberty? Precocious puberty is actually an early onset of puberty. So in girls, if the onset of secondary sexual characteristics is before 8 years, and in boys, if it is before 9 years, it's said to be precocious puberty. Apart from that, there are certain other things like if a girl attains her first menstruation, menarche, before 9.5 years, irrespective of other parameters, it is also considered as precocious. And also the appearance of pubic hair before 8 years is also considered as precocious, and they all need detailed evaluation.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. Moving on to the causes, what are the main factors leading to precocious puberty? Are there specific genetic and environmental factors associated with it?
Yeah, so broadly talking, precocious puberty, it is classified into two types. Okay, so one is the central precocious puberty, in which there is premature activation of the axis which regulates the hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis. So in that there is a complete physical and pubertal maturation, but the puberty happens at an early age and at a faster pace. So there can be many reasons. It can be idiopathic, as is commonly seen in girls, or it can be secondary to central nervous system causes, like it can be following a CNS tumor like glioma, craniopharyngiomas, astrocytomas, or it can be following a head injury or some central nervous system surgeries. It can be following CNS irradiations following a tumor, or it can be even post-infectious like post-tuberculosis or post-meningitis. And also certain CNS malformations can cause central precocious puberty. So that is one type. And then there is another called peripheral precocious puberty, in which the pubertal and physical development, it is not complete, it is partial, and it occurs due to hormones which are released from the gonads, or it can be an extragonadal origin of hormones. So the causes can be different. Like in girls, it can be because of hypothyroidism, or it can be because of some hormonal secretion from the ovaries, some tumors from the ovary, or it can be an adrenal tumor, or in boys it can be again some testicular tumor, or again from adrenal it can be because of central adrenal hyperplasia. So there are n number of causes resulting in central and peripheral precocious puberty, and identifying each is important for the management point of view.
Yes, thank you for explaining. Now, speaking of lifestyle, how has lifestyle modification impacted the prevalence of precocious puberty?
Yeah, so talking about lifestyle, a high BMI and obesity has been linked to early onset of puberty. Over the past decade, we have seen that an improvement in nutrition has also been linked to an early onset of puberty. So factors like obesity, high BMI, and the factors that cause it, like poor eating habits, sedentary lifestyles, lack of physical activity, all of them are responsible for causing early onset of puberty. Then we have also heard about like endocrine disruptors these days. There are certain chemicals are usually seen in plastics, cosmetics, personal care products, and some of the pollutants. Okay, so they also alter our hormonal milieu and can cause an early onset of puberty. Then you previously asked me, are there any genetic and environmental influences? Of course there are. I mean, there are many studies. The studies have proven that about 30% of the central causes can be familial. It is also seen that children often attain puberty at an age when the parent or their sibling have attained puberty. And then there are certain syndromes which run in families, like the McCune-Albright syndrome is there. So there are some syndromic causes. Then there are genetic mutations, like to mention a few, mutations in the MKRN3 gene or kispeptin gene or its receptor, etc. So of course genetics play an important role in the onset of puberty. Then there are environmental causes, like I mentioned, the sedentary lifestyles, the various chemicals that are around. All of these also influence the onset of puberty. So both individually and both together, they interfere with the onset of puberty.
Yes, a lot of modifications play an important role these days.
Exactly.
Now, can you tell us if there is a suspicion of precocious puberty, how do we confirm the diagnosis? What treatment options are available, and how effective are they?
Okay, so the diagnosis and confirmation requires few steps, like it includes a thorough clinical examination, physical examination, laboratory evaluation, and imaging studies. So clinical evaluation, we go into the history, that the onset of the symptoms, how long it has been there, and how it has been progressing. We also take a detailed history about the growth pattern of the child. We also go into the family history of the child. We do a thorough physical examination. We look for specific signs of puberty which are present. Are there any abnormalities? Then talking about laboratory evaluation, certain blood tests are done, like hormonal evaluation commonly, like LH, FSH, hormone levels, estradiol in girls, testosterone level in boys. They all help us to know what kind of puberty the child is going through. Then there are specific tests, like we call it the GnRH stimulation test, which is gonadotropin releasing hormone stimulation test, in which we assess the body response of LH and FSH in body to an externally administered gonadotropin. So even that helps us to know whether it is central precocious puberty or peripheral precocious puberty, and it also helps to confirm a diagnosis. Then apart from this, imaging plays an important role. We take an X-ray of the left hand and wrist to see the bone age of the child. Okay, so if the bone age is advanced than the chronological age, it again points towards precocity. Then imaging like ultrasonography of the pelvis in case of girl child, can help us to know the size and maturity of organs like uterus and ovaries. Then brain imaging studies where you are suspecting some tumor or some malformation or some other central nervous system defects. The brain imaging can be helpful. So depending upon the history, the physical examination, we decide upon the investigations which are required. In some cases, even genetic analysis may be required.
Now, are there any potential side effects of these treatments, and what are the long-term management strategies for children undergoing the treatment?
Yeah, like every medicine comes with its side effect. Okay, so the treatment of precocious puberty is very effective, but yes, of course, it has side effects. So, what we need to do is regularly follow up with the child and look for any onset of adverse effect, and every adverse effect can be managed accordingly. Like for example, in precocious puberty, one of the main line of treatment is gonadotropin GnRH analog. Okay, so it comes with the side effect of initial flaring of symptoms, or injection site issues can be there, or there can be mood swings in the child, some weight gain may be noticed. So all these issues are such that it can be tackled. Once detected, it can be easily managed. So that is that. If it has to be detected early, and it can be managed well.
Yes, right. Management strategies are also important. Now, finally, what can parents, schools, and broader community do to support children experiencing precocious puberty?
Okay, so the management of precocious puberty, it requires a lot of collaboration from the school, parents, and community. So first, talking about the parent, at the parent level, what can we do? Parents can encourage free and open talk about puberty with their children. They can read articles, age-appropriate articles to the children. They can inform the children about the changes that are going to occur in their body. They have to validate a child's feeling when they are going through a roller coaster of emotions and when they are going through a transformation phase. So they have to accept the feelings of the child. Secondly, they can ensure that the follow-ups with the doctors are regular. The medicines prescribed are compliantly taken. Then they can collaborate with the school and with the child is studying, and inform the teachers about the condition the child is going through. So that is at the home level. Apart from that, proper nutritional care, encouraging physical activity, these are all important at home level. Then in school, of course, there may be very few children who are coming with this condition. So the parents need to talk to the respective teachers and administration. They need to be informed about that. In the school also, the environment should be such that the child feels a sense of normalcy there. There should be strict anti-bullying and body shaming policies at school. Healthy friendships should be encouraged. The child's privacy should be maintained, should be respected in the school, and there should be a proper counseling group in the school. And at community level, of course, parents and families can be educated about this. And a good support group is very important. A good support group should be created for families undergoing similar problems. It is also seen that in some families where there are psychosocial issues, that also is linked to early onset of puberty. So if such issues are there, it needs to be addressed. So that is it. So it is a very collaborative process between the family, the school, and the community. And early diagnosis and management is very important. And the children, if it is detected and treated early, the child can lead a physically, emotionally, and socially healthy life. And he can grow with a lot of self-esteem like any other child, without being feeling that he has without the feeling that he has an issue, etc.
Yes, that's truly said. Thank you so much, Dr. Kochurani, for sharing your expertise with us today. It has been an enlightening discussion, and we will be looking forward for more such discussions in the future.
Thank you, Hetvi. Thank you for coming.
And I'm sure our listeners have also gained valuable insights into managing and understanding precocious puberty, just as I have. To our audience, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. And to our esteemed healthcare professionals, if you're eager to delve deeper into medical topics or have questions, don't hesitate to join us on MedSynapse platform. MedSynapse platform is not just a resource, it's a dynamic space where you can connect with your medical peers, participate in meaningful discussions, and contribute to the ongoing evolution of healthcare. Until next time, take care and stay informed.